Of all the Mario Party titles with boards to be remade for future games, Mario Party 1 is perhaps the most alluring.
Well, hello.
Not just because of the obvious nostalgia factor that Wario's Battle Canyon and the like hold, but because of the very limited mechanics of that inaugural party. While titles like Parties 4 and 5 would be defined by their item systems and could also do with a facelift, and a lot of redesigning in general, let's be honest, I do not want to touch Future Dream or Koopa's Seaside Soiree without a huge overhaul. Mario Party 1 doesn't even have the luxury of an item system to revolve around. The only actions players could take came in the form of dice that randomly show up before your turn and either manipulate your coins up and down by what you roll, do big roll, do little roll, warp you to an opponent and don't let you roll after, or summon a friend to either give you gifts or mug you for fun. The lack of choice inherent to pretty much every Mario Party 1 board except maybe like DK's Jungle Adventure or Bowser's Magma Mountain if you're lucky, makes the prospect of their modernization super fascinating. Not as much has to be changed with the board's design compared to un-mini-megafying 4 or rebalancing DS around not being able to buy infinite star pipes at every shop. And there's just this feeling of being able to maybe see these classics made good and fleshed out. And it got music by Yasunori Mitsuda, who composed that game with Time Goku. So hearing any remix that could come out is a huge bonus. And while Mario Party Superstars offered up remakes of Yoshi's Tropical Island and Peach's Birthday Cake that were alright, some notes here and there. Warp blocks are very funny to use, at least. They didn't quite live up to the other boards as more than cute little novelties. The vestiges of the first Mario Party's design entrapping them in gimmick territory. But the dawn of a new party is upon us, and with Super Mario Party Jamboree, we have the reintroduction of perhaps the most celebrated of Party 1's boards. Musically, at least. Mario's Rainbow Castle. Woohoo! So, yeah, let's see what they changed. Do they make it good? What's this designing for? Let's do the thing you're here for. Mario's Rainbow Castle is an incredibly simple board, meant to introduce players to the concept of Mario Party as a whole. 35 spaces are all that stand between players from the end of the road, where they can meet Toad atop a great tower and give the little man 20 coins to trade for a star. Yahoo! But beware. For every time someone lands on one of these green happening spaces, or someone reaches the end of the board, the tower will rotate, revealing the dastardly Bowser, who will sell you a Zatar for 40 coins. That does absolutely nothing. Not even taking a star away. Plastic! There are 2 little junctions on the board, one toward the end that adds a total of 3 spaces to traverse to slow your stroll to the castle's peak, and one earlier on that's 10 spaces longer than its alternative and leads to Boo, who can steal some coins from an opponent for free or steal a star for 50 coins. After every turn, a minigame worth usually about 10 coins is played, and at the end of the game, 3 bonuses are rewarded. One for whoever got the most coins in minigames, one for whoever held the most coins at a single point in the game, and one for whoever landed on the most happening spaces. Whoever's got the most stars wins, and tiebreakers are determined by who has the most coins. Now, a lot of that is just explained back to you what the basic rules of Mario Party were for a solid, 12 straight years. But this is a 1-star difficulty board from the very first game. Odds are either this castle or Donkey Kong's board would be the very first Mario Party experience someone would have. And it had to be simple in order to let players get used to the minigame format and learn what the heck aiming for a coin star or whatever actually is. And yeah, I think that slightly more complicated Candyland is a neat first taste of the party. You naturally try to go for the longer paths when Bowser's out. Boo is a cool wrinkle to throw in so you feel like you have an out if someone's just getting insanely lucky going for Toad. It makes you appreciate the very basics of Mario Party and how important pathing and coin management is pretty neatly. Then you replay it and it's mediocre outside of the music.
Oh no!
Rainbow Castle might be the series' first linear board, but it mainly created a template for other boards to develop from, rather than being a superstar on its first go-round. The general weaknesses with Mario Party 1's boards are present here. The mushroom space feels awful when you skip a turn, regardless of if you want to slow roll or not. The only happening space you can choose to land on is the one in this junction right here, as every other happening is either more than 10 away from a junction, or are these two after the second, which are both 5 away for some reason? Stealing coins with Boo is basically only useful if you're trying to steal Coinstar because there's nothing to spend money on besides Toad and Bowser. And most shorter games can be decided by this simple checklist. Did you land on a one-player minigame space? Was the minigame Whack-A-Plant? You won Minigame Star, didn't you? Yeah, you did! Congrats, you probably won. I don't think anyone who's played Rainbow Castle first is necessarily wrong to have affection for it, but it's less of a blueprint on how Mario Party should be in the future, and more of a first draft made on diner napkins with a Tower of the Wingcap theme plastered onto it. And honestly, even comparing linear boards in the same game, I'm sorry, I prefer Magma Mountain. Who thinks to spend coins on? Theoretically. And it's really mean. That's funny when someone makes the pain noises. That's why you play Mario Party 1 in modern day. Honestly, Mario's Rainbow Castle might be pretty good without. Remind me when Jamboree comes out to talk about it. But the strong nostalgia and allure of the Rainbow Castle can't keep others away for long. And 25 years later, we find ourselves back at its cloudy court for one more Jamboree. Much has changed in a quarter of a century. Toad and Bowser are now playable. Koopa Troopa has lost his job and no longer gives you 10 coins every time you finish a lap of the board. They took some spaces out to add an item shop to this stretch before the first junction. The pair-up system from Fire Emblem Awakening was added, but only if you win these Legends of the Hidden Temple stages. Or 10 hours of pinball.
Watch out for me!
There's some potential for this to be a real aggressive board now. Let's start with the shop, as items are the most obvious spice you could add to Rainbow Castle to kick it up a bit. There are two different types of shops. Koopa, who sells wares mostly focused on moving faster, and Kamek, who sells stuff that reduces rolls to a crawl and traps to lay down on spaces. These two rotate every time someone passes them, making for a very intended system. Whoever gets to the shop first will have an advantage in rushing to the star before it swaps. Whoever's second can more easily land on event spaces to turn things around, which is countered by the third player also running quickly to pick up the first scraps, only to be countered by the fourth player doing the same thing so that they get an advantage and the other three don't, and yeah, the shops are in time with the expected order you reach the tower and complement strategies based on that order. It's cute. However, if a player lands on an event space and replaces Alla Gold with Sussy Bowser, the shops will also swap. Throwing this whole thing out of whack is more of a crapshoot. Additionally, movement tends to be, just better in general. The effects of the creepy dice limiting your roll are instantly countered by any movement item, making them only guaranteed useful if you lay them on yourself. Traps are hard to get working, even in a linear board when mushrooms give +5 to any roll, so if you're within 5 spaces of a trap, those are a non-issue. And even the need for an opponent to burn their movement item to get rid of the creepy effect when they don't want it is mitigated because mushroom tickets are the answer to all of life's problems.
Oh yeah!
For the price of 2 mushrooms, you get a minimum of 2 mushrooms that only take up 1 item slot.
Wow.
But sometimes it's secretly 4 mushrooms.
Oh my god!
It's permanent zoomies! You wouldn't download a mushroom, shut up, I would, and I copied it, and I'm living that mushroom ticket life, baby! Oh yeah!
It's so beautiful!
As such, if there's any intended strategy from item shop rotation, it's mostly lost on the gratuitous amount of advantage that Koopa Shop allows for, and Kamex can't make up for. Otherwise, there's honestly not a lot of changes to the board. There's an item that turns the tower on command, but it costs 20 coins and requires a roulette, so reliability isn't great. Another event space was added near the second junction to make it more likely to land on one around there. They took one space from the right of Boo, put it on the left, made it an event. Sussy Bowser only costs 20 coins for his Zatar instead of Bowser Classic's 40. The starting stretch is only 12 spaces plus a shop instead of 14, so it's an even shorter board than it was before. I already mentioned Koopa. Those event spaces at the second junction are still 5 away. They didn't change that? Yeah, that's basically it. One shop, 2 less spaces, 2 more events, Zatars are weaker, Koopa has been deleted. Compared to the more major overhauls given to Peach's Birthday Cake, Horror Land, and even Western Land in this very same game, Rainbow Castle didn't get nearly the facelift you would expect out of it. All that it really has to rely on are the same thing it had in Mario Party 1, the game's inherent mechanics. And to be frank, that's all it needs.
Oh yeah!
Roughly every 4 turns, give or take a few if they're left waiting, a Jamboree buddy will descend from the over there to grace the board with their presence. Either before the item shop, on the intersection where Boo and the swifter path converge, or in the marginally longer junction path about 10 spaces from the end. Now, allies are pretty nutty for Jamboree. They double the effects of pretty much every single space you land on, save events, and they double up your actions, which means 2 potential star buys, 2 items purchased in a shop, 2 Boo steals, and they each have a unique action that ranges from stealing the coins of players you pass, having star costs, or breaking the game over his knee by rigging the dice. Even the other multiples! No one is safe from his wrath. His advantage state is infinite!
What are you doing?
Hello, Mario.
They're often the biggest determination in how a game is going to end up, as the 3 turns you get with a friend that you win over are absolutely unparalleled in how many stars, coins, items, everything you could ever want. They set you up for perfectly until the next friend drops. And they're here in what's by far the smallest board in the game. A small, linear board, where you don't even have to go out your way to get them. And one of the spawns is before both the item shop and Boo, and the other one just 10 spaces in front of the permanent star location. It is a joke on how much easier it is to get Jamboree buddies on this board and how easy it is to take advantage of them. I mean, let's just compare. Go to Goomba Lagoon and look how much longer it takes to select Wario. Not only are buddies constantly in play, they are constantly getting stolen, as all you have to do is pass someone with an ally up and they'll instantly swap allegiances to you. And with how many mushroom tickets and warp blocks and warp mirrors and the like go flying around, plus the fact that everyone's pretty much going the same way with only one major deviation to see Boo, which is where you want to go if you have a buddy anyway.
I want to steal.
The custody battle for Bowser Jr. is never gonna be fiercer than it is here. It is a constant, chaotic scramble to try to be in the perfect position at the perfect time. A reactive war zone of items being tossed everywhere. And that simple fact kinda changes what this Mario Party is all about. You gain so much advantage with buddies in such a short period of time that while multi-turn schemes are possible, Jamboree forces you to be incredibly adaptational, as there's never really a point where you can count a player out as long as they still have an item and even the possibility of a play to make. If you play this game like the Mario parties of the past, trying to keep everyone under the thumb of potential bonus stars, you're probably gonna suck.
Oh, I missed!
In that sense, Jamboree has kinda broken loose from what most would consider makes a good Mario Party. And Rainbow Castle is here to prove it by taking this classic board and making it totally bend to Jamboree's systems. Go after lucky spaces. Get partners to maximize this. The mushroom ticket meta is real and it will hurt you. This is a bad classic Mario Party game. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Let's go.
Mario Party's been struggling to find an identity outside of its classic formula since Mario Party 9. That's 12 years of soul searching, almost as many as it had with those classic titles as the only party in town. And Advance, I guess. And while you could say, no, just make more Mario Party like it's always been, it was good. I do think that Jamboree finally does provide a game that doesn't overshadow other Mario Party titles as the best one, but can stand alongside them as an alternative. Mario's Rainbow Castle is a great board in Jamboree, but it didn't have to change much in order to achieve that. You could have revamped it more, added more routes, tossed in the custom dice block to give it a more Castaway Bay flavor where you snipe event spaces, rather than having to rely on that thoroughly unreliable and way too expensive tower turner item. That would be more in line with how the original Mario Parties would do it. But it doesn't. Just like 25 years ago, it lets its simple design serve as a way of introducing a new system of Mario Party to players. Or would if it wasn't unlockable. It lets the Jamboree buddies shine, lets new movement options emerge, creates a desperate sprint where everyone is clawing at each other whenever they can to pull off their big gambit, before realizing, oh no, I don't want Mario's dice power. He's going to make me buy 2 Zitars because of his reckless spending habits. And it's different, and I win less because I'm not used to it yet and can only scam so hard when I'm unfamiliar at the game. But it's fun! It's flashy and cutthroat, and I love the little details like Sussy Bowser's crappy cardboard tower and the board changing to a turbulent storm with a rock guitar dominating Mitsuda's beautiful classic melody whenever he shows up. Super Mario Party Jamboree is a riot of a time. And the only thing Mario's Rainbow Castle needed to do was make a couple of small adjustments that let the new systems speak for themselves.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
And I think that is so much cooler and way more confident than whatever other revamps they could have done. That, my friends, is the clever and simple way on how to design for change. Timmy Turner when he wished to grow real big.